Hey everyone. Hey, what's up, you all? I'm Khushi Mahabar, your host for today's session, and I welcome you all to GSW January, which is Beginners Week, and it's a very bright, sunny morning here in New Delhi, and it feels so awesome until you go outside and realize the chilly breeze, right? So, hi people, I am Khushi Mahabar, and let's wait for all of you to join and then we can start with our. Oh, hi Tanzia. Hey Anurag. Hey. Hi everyone. What's up, you all? Okay, Anurag says once a python, always a python. Okay. I'm good, Tanzia. How are you? How are you all doing? Okay, meanwhile, I'll drop the OHQ link, right? Just give me a second. I need to find my link. I believe at least today the video is not lagging, right? Or is it? Do mention. Okay. My laptop is facing heavy CPU load and now it's working so slow. Okay, I found. So, before we start the session, guys, I want you all to please visit this OHQ link, register if you haven't before, and make sure you check in for the same. And for those who are watching the video without registering, it's completely fine. But do take out a minute and register yourself through the link. I'll wait for you all here till you do it, right? So, the link, the OHQ link is already in your chat box. So go on to the link, check in, and come back here. Okay, awesome, Tanzia. Awesome. I remember Tanzia from my stream as well. So you guys are attending all the streams. That's awesome. Am I pronouncing your name right? It's Tanzia. Okay. Let me add this to the stream. Okay, fine. Right. So we're doing I am Khushi Mahavar and I'm an APAC coach at MLH. I use the pronouns she or her, and I love being called by my last name. My even from my friends to my teachers, everyone calls me Mahavar, and I find it very cool. So if you wish, you can call me by the name Mahavar. And I say I'm living to eat food rather than considering that we eat food to live, because I'm a big foodie and I love food. Okay, so that's all about me. So in today's session, get started with learning Python. So, I welcome you all to yet another technical session of GSW Global Hack Week January, which is Beginners Week. Today we are going to start with learning Python, and we'll see the basics of Python step by step, starting from printing the basic hello world, and then moving on to cover the entire basic programming. And after you know this, you can easily um, program in Python. Hey, hi, Shellstronic. Hi. So, okay. So I believe if you are done with the your check-in and registering thing, we can move ahead. So, okay, let me introduce you with a little bit of Python. Python is a pretty easy language, and it's very popular too these days, right? Even young school kids are being introduced to Python now. So, if you think this Python's journey of yours would be is gonna be hard, not at all. It would be like a piece of cake if you just give some time to it, right? So let's not waste time and get actually started. So here, as you see, Python is one of the fastest and growing language. So it was released in 1991 by Fido von Rossum, and we say it's fastest and growing language, but in what terms, right? In we can say in terms of number of developers or companies using it. There are numerous companies who are already using Python in their softwares, and in terms of areas we can implement it in. So there are multiple fields we can implement Python in, like machine learning. We can build graphical user interfaces with it. We use it in software development today, and to build web servers in web development field. And and in terms of numerous libraries available as well, so there are multiple libraries available in Python, and you can easily import and use them to simplify your programming. So the people who are familiar with programming and have worked on C or C++ or Java, they know how the code in Java or C++ is different from coding in Python. You can print in Python in just one statement, whereas in C or C++ you need to write a few statements, right? So you'll see this thing, and when you use libraries, this makes more easier in Python. So Python is popularly used for machine learning, GUI softwares, etc. So this is also a reason why Python is called a general purpose language, right? So Python is an interpreted, object oriented, high level language, and which means that Python uses an interpreter. uh, if you're familiar with interpreter, it runs through the program line by line, which is much different than a compiler. I'll explain it to you as well. So in an interpreter, it goes line by line and it executes each command. So some examples of languages which follow this interpreter method is PHP, Ruby, JavaScript, etc. All of these are interpreted languages. And then, as I said, on the other hand, we have compiled languages as well. So they are those which can be directly converted into machine code that processor can execute, unlike in interpreted languages. So our basic C, C++ are some of the quite famous examples of compiled languages. So a question that might arise in your mind is, why is Python so famous? Is there some specific reason behind it? Is it because it's new? Do you guys think like that? Do you know in which year Python was released, or the implementation started? As I mentioned earlier as well, it got released in 1991, but this is not the reason why Python is actually famous. Python was first implemented in 1989, while Java got released in 1995, which was way later than Python. So, and we see that Python is more popular than Java. So this does not justify the meaning. The If we say that Python is popular because it's new, right? So the answer to this could be that Python is considered to be an easy language, And moreover, the syntax of Python is similar to English language, and it gets easier for a human to understand and remember and recall things. And also, Python has a syntax that allows developers like you and me to program something in very few lines, as I said, which might take numerous lines of code in another language such as C or C++. So, also, there is another thing which I would like to mention, that since the advancement of artificial intelligence, machine learning, in the and different fields, researchers who research about research in these fields have started using Python, because they've always preferred Python because it is an easy language, and a researcher would not want to spend time in learning a language and then doing his research, because it would be senseless for him to spend some time which is spend time somewhere else, rather than he would put the time in his research rather, right? So these days, even giant companies like Google, as we know, Google, YouTube, Reddit, etc., have part of codes written in Python. So this is all which makes Python so popular these days. So okay, this is something interesting. Have you guys ever thought, why is Python named as Python? Is there some story behind it? Is it, does it has something to do with the snake Python? So I would like you all to put it in the chat box if you know already, and let's discuss this. This is an interesting story. So once I got to know about this, I was shocked, because earlier I used to think it must be related to snake, right? Um, you all can put it in the chat box if you wish. Otherwise, I'll go move ahead and tell you the story. So when I began with Python, I didn't really know this, and I used to think that there must be something. The person who created this, Fido von Rossum, he must be liking snakes or something, but not at all. That's not true. So the story behind this is that Python's creator, Fido von Rossum, was a big fan of a big fan of a comedy series called Status. Monty Python's Flying Circus. Is my video stuck? Okay, let me check. Am I audible, guys? I see my. So yeah, so Python was named so because the creator of Python was a huge fan of Monty Python, which was a comedy group. So this programming was ultimately named after the comedy group Monty Python. It's interesting, isn't it? Right. So now let's put some hands on actually coding in Python. So Python, let's talk about Python installation. So so many PCs and Macs already have Python installed. You can check this from your command prompt. Okay, let me open my CMD. Just give me a minute, guys. Haven't already installed Python, you can go on to www.python.org and just install Python installer from there, and then install it. Okay. Fine. So here I have my command prompt. So as I said, as I said, many of the PCs or already have installed code to your command prompt or terminal, and just write Python dash dash version and look at what it prints. If it say Python or ancient version, so those things that you have installed. If you find that you do not have Python installed, then as I said, you can download. So once you download it, you can code actually in Python. So to write code, where would you write code? You would need some editor. So there's a question that can you use Notepad? Okay. User Andra says how to install. Go on to okay. I'll show you www dot python.org. So go on to this website, and from here you can simply download it. If it's Windows, you can download it from here. Otherwise, Mac OS, and for other platforms, you can search it from here. Okay, it's as simple. You just have to install the setup installer, and then you can just install it from there, right? And if you wish to install Anaconda as well, you can do that. I'll tell you later about it. That's for Jupyter Notebook and other data science stuff. So so I was talking about where would you write code? Can you write code in Notepad? Can you? Do you think? I'm user Sandra, by the way. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have not looked at it properly. I know how it feels when someone mispronounces your name, your username, whatever, because I've experienced it a lot in my school. People used to mispronounce my last name, and I didn't like it actually. Okay, I'm so sorry. So never mind. So you cannot just use the notepad because Python is an interpreted language, and you would need an interpreter. So you can use if you want to use the notepad, you can write your code into it and save the file with .py extension, and then use the Python interpreter or the command line interpreter, right? The command prompt to run the program. So I can relate with you, Tanzia, right? Okay, never mind. So okay, let me show you how you can just print a small piece of code from command prompt or terminal itself. So go on to your command line prompt and write Python and enter. And this, if this doesn't work for you by chance, you can go on to write just py and then enter. And let's print something. So for printing in Python, you use print function. So this is this print and these two braces. This is a print function, and inside this, you write whatever you want to print. So this is a very basic thing. Hello world. So it says hello world here, right? This was something how you can. And if you want to write an entire piece of code, go to your notepad, write in the entire code, if whatever code you want to write, and then save it as .py extension, and from command prompt itself, go on to that locations or by cd, go on to that folder, and then open that file from there, run it from there, and you can run the notepad file as well. So, um, so now today I'm gonna use Google Colab for writing Python code. If you wish, you can use Jupyter Notebook as well, or any other platform you are okay with. So for Jupyter Notebook, you can install Anaconda. Anaconda is a commercial Python and R distribution platform. So Anaconda provides you a lot of tools for data science. So that is another thing if you want to do, but let us just use Google Colab. So for Google Colab, go on your search engine and search for Google Colab. Here it is. Welcome to Collaboratory. And Once this opens, you just have to log in. I have logged in already, and I'll just open a new file, and here it save gives me. So I have created my file already for you all, and we'll type in here. So let me make you a little familiar with this platform. Why don't you? Okay, okay, it's here. So this is these are the code cells where you can write anything, and I'll just tell you a little bit of keyboard shortcuts that you can use. So here you can add your own keyboard shortcut. For example, I have added Control Shift plus C as a keyboard shortcut to add a new code cell. And for adding a new text cell, I have added Control plus Shift plus X. And to run a cell, you can just press Shift plus Enter. It must present, yeah, run cell and select next cell. So you can add such shortcuts for you to make your task easier. So that's it. You all can start, uh, coding with me. And this is very simple. We are gonna, stick to the basics so that you can, once you understand the basics, you can program very easily in Python. So a lot of people who work on DSA and are planning to crack some SD engineering jobs often use Python to easily find the solutions to a problem. So you can also do this by clearing your basics and work on solving DSA questions. So let's start by writing or printing something here. So what do you want me to print? Let's just print hello world. This is how you print in Python. You use the print function, and inside that, if it's a string, you write the entire, the words inside the double quotes and print it in this way. So here it would say me, hello world. Can you share the link, please? The web page for Python. Okay, it's www.google.colab. I'll just write Google Colab here. You go and search it on your web. Okay. Ooh, okay. Got posted in all. Okay, fine. So go and search, use this Sandra, go and search and for Google Collab, go and log in into that, and it's very simple. You'll find the platform very easy to use. Why is it okay? It got printed. So this is how you can print anything. I can even print numbers here. For example, two. Even I can print two. I can add, and print the number. I can subtract. For example, if I want 5 minus 2, if I want to do 5 into 2. So what would be done here? This number would be added, or I mean, or this operation would occur between these numbers, and then it would get printed. So similarly, it would happen for all of these operations. So here you see 2 was printed, 2 plus 5, 7 was printed, 5 minus 2, 3 was printed, 5 into 10, 5 into 2, 10 was printed, and 5 upon 2, 2.5 was printed. As simple as that, nothing difficult. So let me tell you about creating a comment as well. So here, if you see all these green text which I have already added my in my notebook are comments. So comments can be used to explain Python code and make it more readable. So I have, for example, I have added comments here so that I can recall what I wanted to tell you in this code cell, right? So this is just for the programmer. For example, imagine you write a program, you write an entire program for some software, and then you leave the company, or some senior engineer comes and he wants to modify the program you wrote. So he or she might not be able to understand the technique of your program, or your writing style of program. So what you can do is always mention comments while you write your program. So even in web development, if you're familiar with web development, you write comments there. For example, when you write css code, you mention where the footer css starts or header css starts, where it ends, so that it's easier for you to identify and locate the program. So here also you can use that. And I can also write my code over here, and um, the comment can also be in the same line. For example, hello, this is Kushi. This would still run, so it means that the comment can be written in the same line as well with the code. So a comment need not just be a text. So here we saw that the comments, these comments were just a piece of text. So it need not be text necessarily. It can be also some piece of code. For example, I earlier said that I wanted to print hello world, and I did print it. But now I say I don't want to delete hello world, but I want to print hey dude, hey dude. So I don't want to delete this as well, and I don't want to print this as well. So what do? I can just comment it. You can comment by using shortcut keys control and slash by pressing them simultaneously. So this gets commented, and whatever you comment gets ignored by Python, and this shall not print. So the next thing is that you can write a comment in multiple line as well by simply writing whatever you want to. For example, I wrote this thing, this is in multi-line. I'll select all of this and do a control plus slash. This comments it. I can if I again press control and slash, it will uncomment it. So let's just keep it commented. Then again, there is this way of making a multi-line comment. So this is actually multi-line string if you observe. So this is how you write multi-line string, by writing three double quotes and ending it with three double quotes. And inside this, you write your string. So until and unless you haven't assigned this to a variable, this will get ignored by Python. So this will ultimately not act as a string, but a comment. Okay. So it says this is a, it shouldn't have been printed. Okay, fine. So now let's create a variable. Are you all with me? Okay. Will you take a sharp object to yourself? I didn't get you. Okay. Let's create a variable. Do you all understand what a variable is? You must have studied about this in mathematics in school, right? Um, if you wanna mention it here, let me check if you already know variables, so I might not need to explain it, and you all can rather explain it to each other. Okay, so let me tell you as well. A variable is nothing but some value which varies, as it says from the word itself, variable. So variable is a container for storing any value. So in Python, you need not declare a variable, variable's data type as you used to do in a programming language such as C. In C, how we used to write? We used to mention int, which is the data type of variable, whether it is an integer, float value, or a boolean value, etc. Then you used to mention the value of the variable, for example, 17. But here you can directly take the variable name and assign some value to it. So let me assign the value 5, and then let's print it. Print x. So here you have created the variable and printed it. That's how, as simple as it. So a variable gets created the moment you assign a value. So okay. Um, uh, this, if I assign some value, for example, Khushi, a string to it, so it gets updated here. So this says that variables can also be changed once declared. So here, if you see, I had equated x as 5. I had assigned the value 5 to x. But if I assign the value x, Khushi to x, the value of x got updated. So when I printed x here, it printed me Khushi. And earlier when I printed x, it was 5. But as soon as I assigned the new value, it got updated. So variables value can change, as I told by the word, it means vary. So it can vary actually. So let's have a look at this as well, which is casting. Okay. Okay. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So what's casting now? So at times you might want to specify a type onto a variable, and this can be done through casting. So it's called typecasting actually. So typecasting is the method to convert the variable data type. Data type is what? Data type defines whether it's an integer, whether it's a Boolean value, whether it's a float value, what else? Whether it's a string, etc. So you can convert that data type into another data type for our requirements. So let's try converting a few of the values. Let's assign x as 5.23, for example. It's a float value, as we all know. Float value means a decimal value. So now I want this x to be converted into an integer. So what do I do? I can, let's store it in y rather. If I want y to be an integer of x, so what this will do, that it will return me the nearest integer of x, which would be 5. So it will convert, it will typecast the a variable x and store it in y. So let me print y, and it will print 5. And if I print the data type, how do you print the data type? You use the type function, and inside the type function I write the variable name. I want to print the data type of y, so I have just written type y inside print. And here it shows integer, class integer, which means y is an integer. If I want to print the data type of x, it will give me a float value for sure. So here it says x is a float value, as we already knew, and y is an integer. So similarly, you can also convert, what else, this value into a string. So for example, if I want y to be a string of x, so this 5.23, which is a float value here right now, will get converted into a string. And let's print y now. Y and the type. Earlier it was integer, the x was integer, and then y, no, I mean y was integer because we printed the type of y first, and then we printed the type of x, which was a float value. Then we converted 5.23 into a string value, and it got printed here. Then we printed the type of the string value, which is actually string, as we all know. So okay, fine, it's working fine. So let's talk about variable name. So do you think you can just, take pick any name, whichever you want, and assign use it as your variable? No, that's not real actually. So let's see how you can actually name a variable or select a variable name. So variable names in real life should be in a descriptive manner, such that whenever you read a variable and name or look at it, you can guess what it is, or it should explain what the value is. For example, I say that I want to write the I want to assign a value, um, of age. For example, someone is 18 years old and I want to assign the value 18 to it. So this 18, since this is an age value, so I should use a variable name somewhat which is relevant to this value. So I use the variable name age. If I wanted to, tell a total volume of something, I should use something in this way which describes total volume. For example, 200, right? So the variable name should be meaningful. And now we have certain rules which we should follow whenever we are creating a variable name. So a variable name must start with a letter. Letter, by letter I mean alphabet, or the underscore character. So you can use a letter which is A, B, C, D. Either it's capital or in either it can be an uppercase or lowercase, anything. And then we have an underscore character. This is the underscore character. So a variable name can only start with some alphabet or an underscore character. Cannot start with a number, not at all. And then we have that variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. So once you have started your variable name with the letter underscore character, it can only consist of alphanumeric characters that are alphabets and 0 to 9 numbers, and then an underscore, nothing else. So they are also case sensitive. Age, this age, and this age, these are three different variables. Although the English meaning of all these three are same, but these three would be considered three different variables in Python. So that is something I wanted you all to know. So, what if you wanted to assign values to different variables in just one statement? How would you assign it in your, trivial method? You will do this way: X is John, Y is Sally, and Z is Jack. This is actually time taking, right? In bigger programs, you would not want to waste your time. So just write all the three variables in the order, and then write the variable values respectively. So John, then Sally, then it is Jack. And this then just simply print all the variables. So print X, print Y, and print Z. Ooh, okay. So here you see you assign the values, multiple values in a single line, and then printed all the values. It's very simple. And then you have assigning values through a list. For example, assume that you have a list. A list is something which is a collection of multiple items. So it is, okay, let's create a list. This is students list. This is a students list, and it says we have John, we have Sally, and then we have Jack. So now I want all of these students to be assigned to variable X, Y, and Z. So what do? I use the variables X, Y, and Z. I have created my variables. Now I assign the value to them, which is my list, students. So once I assign the value students to it, it means that these variables X, Y, and Z would be mapped to John, Sally, and Jack respectively. So now if you print all of these, print X, Y, and Z, you see all of them would get printed: John, Sally, Jack. That's the entire list. Okay, so that was printing values, assigning values, and using variable names, which was just the beginning of Python. Let's talk about data types in Python. So here we have this small sheet. Here, if you look, we all know that data type in Python gets set automatically whenever you assign a value to your variable, as we saw earlier. So here, if you see this, these, collection of words, hello world. This is a string actually, and once it got assigned to X, the data type of X was converted, it became string, str, which is a data type in Python. And when you assign a value like this, which is an integer, you understand the meaning of integer from your mathematics. So this value 20 was assigned to X, and the data type was assigned to it, which is an integer. Similarly, this is a float value, thus the data type is float, and this is a complex value. As you must have studied in mathematics, that X or anything, for example, 5 plus 2j or something, it's a complex value. And then you have this list, and right now just consider something with square braces and multiple values inside it. It's a list. And for tuple we use these kind of braces, the normal braces, and it also has multiple values in it. A range, as we know, something which is between something. So a range by default starts from 0, and this 6 defines where this range would end. So once you have assigned this value to your variable, this states that the data type would be set to string. So similarly, it's for dictionary set, and we'll talk about this later. We'll study a little bit about dictionary and set as well. So, in Python, if you want to generate a random number, do you know how you can do it? Can you send out the links to this web page? Oh, is it? Wait. Hmm, Google Collab. Here you go, user Sandra. Is 6 inclusive? Okay, okay. Let me, do this for you. Hmm. Um, for X in range 6. Let's see. Let's check. Print X. For it's a loop. So if you observe, as I said, its range is actually what it's to print values between something. So it starts by default from 0 and it goes till 6, which means it's between 0 and 6. So it 0 is included but not 6, so it ends at the value 5. So here you see 6 is not included, right? Ammonium, what is it? I'm not sure. Okay, fine. So let's generate a random number here. So random number is anything which is generated without any bias, without any thought. It just got popped suddenly. Something that is something what random is. So for generating a random number, you can use the module which is random provided by Python, which is it is an inbuilt module in Python. So we'll import that, import random, and let's just print something. um, okay, random. So to print a random value, you need to give a range to Python so that it understands from what range can it print a value. So let it be from 1 to 10, any number from 1 to 10. So it printed us 8. So again, if you run this, you can actually print another value. Random is, as I said, it could be anything. So again, if you run this, you'll get another value. Again, if you run this, you'll get another value. So if you, in any situation, if you want to fix this random value, you can use this function seed. If you Google about this seed in Python, it actually uses some timestamp or something which fixes the random value seed method. If you want to study about this, you can go over here and look over it. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, then we have strings in Python. So at times you might be confused that in strings in Python, do we use double quotes or single quotes? It's confusing, right? But in Python, Strings can be surrounded by either single quotation marks or double quotation marks. It's actually the same thing. It works in the same way. So if you want me to print it in the both ways, you can have a look, and you'll see it's nothing different. It's all the same thing. See, it got printed in the same way, no difference. And then I have a task for you all, a very simple task. Go on to your collab notebook, assign your name as a string to a variable. So um, let's take the variable name itself so that we know what the variable defines. And let us assign our own names to it. So my name is Khushi Mahavar, and I'm assigning this name, and let's just print the value of our variable, and it is name. So yes, it prints my name, which is the value I assign to my variable. So it's very simple. This is, what is it? This is a string. A string, a string is something. Let's say collection of words in layman terms. So it can be alphabets, it can be numbers as well, or any special character, etc. So if you want to print or assign a multi-line string, do you remember we used a multi-line string to comment? Where is it? Here it is. So this was a multi-line comment we used, which was actually a multi-line string. So it acted as a comment because we had not assigned this to a variable yet. Once we assign it to a variable, it will actually act as our um, as a multi-line string. So I have assigned this to a variable a, and let me print a now. See, so here this prints my multi-line string, which is a this is a comment written more than just one line. So here, if you observe, this multi-line string was printed as the way it was written. Right here, if it had a new line starting from here, so it was printed in a new line. This is how a multi-line string works. So, if you worked on another programming language, you might be knowing that in that string work as arrays. So, by that I mean that every index value of the array is assigned to the character of string. So, let me explain that to you. For example, if you have a string, hello world. So here, if I say this is my index 0, this is my index 1, this is my index 2, 3, 4, and this space is also considered as an index 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 0 to 10, which is 11 characters. So this is how string gets stored, just like arrays, by you know uh, the index values. Like strings are stored as arrays of bytes, these bytes representing the unicode characters, which are these characters. Okay, so if you want to print a particular character, how do you do it? I say, print me this character which is at position 3. By position 3, I mean index 2. If you observe, this is index 0, this is index 1, which is E is at index 1, L is at index 2, which is at position 3 actually. So I want to print this. How do I access this element? So just like in arrays, use square braces and then write the index. First, you wrote the variable name for that particular array or the variable. Then you use square braces and enter the index of that particular element. Now let's print. So it says L, which is this L. For example, if I say I want to print O, what index is it? It's at 4. So let's print it. It says 0. So this I mean O. So this is our how you can access elements of the string. Then what if you want to print all of these characters? What if you want to recite the spelling of hello world and print all of it in your program? So how do you do it? You use a for loop. Right now, if you're not familiar with loop, just chill, look at how it's happening, and later on we can discuss that as well. So here I have used a for loop, and for x is a variable. If x is present in a, what is a? A was our variable name which stored our string. If x is any character, that it could be x, it could be h, e, l, l, anything. If x is present in a, print x. Okay. So here if you see, the entire spelling got recited. So HELLO, and then we have fold, right? So we in Python you have a function called length function. So you write the length function in this way, len, and then you use these braces, and inside that you write the variable name of which you want to print the length of. So I want to print the length of my this string. So as we saw, it was actually from 0 to 10, which means 11 characters. So it should print 11. Let's see if it prints 11. Print the length of a, it's 11, right? So okay, a2, I guess. Exactly. Please, could you please just tell me what's your name, because it's difficult to pronounce this, your username. Can anyone share check-in link? Guys, if you have the check-in link, you can share it, or otherwise I'll share it in a few minutes again for you all. So okay, let's do another thing. We have our string here. Let me just print it again. Write it again, I mean. Hello world. World. Okay. And then if you want to check whether, let's check if if in our variable a, or in our string, world is present or not. So how do you check it? So you can use this operator, which will just check if it is actually present. So if world is present, then this statement would return true. Otherwise, it would return false. This operator is a membership operator. It would check if this, whatever you have written here, which is a string world, is present in the variable a or not. If it's present, it returns true. Let's check for something else. For example, I check, um, is Khushi present in this variable a? And of course, it would return false. And here it says it's false. No Khushi is present in this variable a. So sound simple? Okay. Then let us slice, or learn how you can slice the string. You understand slicing, right? Chopping, the way you slice your vegetables, or what else do you slice? Okay. Here is your string, and now if I say I want this string to only take the characters from the position 2, which is e, to 5, which is this. 5 is this, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So till o. So I want the characters ELLO to be printed and nothing else. So what do I do? How do I select? So I can just, we know how to select a particular element. For example, if I want to print E, I can just write the index value here, which would be 1. But if I want to select a multiple characters from a string, I'll use this way. I'll write, here it was 225. So if I want to, print multiple characters, I'll write the starting index value and then the ending index value. And here if you see, it prints me LLO, because I'm here, I'm talking, I used 2 is to 5 now. If you want, you can use 1 is to 4. So here it will print me ELL, which is 1, 2, 3, and it does not include the fourth character. So because it talks about between them, although the first character is included. Note this. You need to note this always. So now if you want to print from, let this be 2 is to 5, because in here in this position it talks about the index value. So from start to character at position 5. So if you want to start this from the beginning by default, you need not enter any index value, just leave it blank. But you can mention the position where you want to end this. So it's ending at 5. I'm writing it here. Similarly, if you do not want to mention where this string should end but want to mention where it should begin from, you can write the beginning index and leave the next index empty. So here, if you observe, hello was printed because the beginning in the beginning value it started from h, which is by default, and where it had to end at the fifth position. Similarly for this as well. So I hope you're getting a glimpse of this. So it's not very difficult. So here, if you want to replace a string with another string, so for example, we had our hello world here. Now, if I say I don't want world, I want to replace this world to my name and I want this computer to wish me hello instead. So, what do? I use this replace function. I'll write replace and I'll write two values, the value which I want to replace and the value which I want to replace the value with. Oh, it's confusing. Okay, did I make it confusing? So never mind. You'll find it very easy. Now I wrote the value which I do not want. I'll write the value which I want it to be replaced with. I want here that this variable says hello Kushi instead of hello world. So now let's see if it says yes. So I have replaced the value world with Khushi and it says hello Khushi. Okay. So if you want to split a string, you can split it um, on the basis of any character. So here, let me just split it. Okay. You use split function and then you write at, what character you want to split it. For example, I have hello comma world. So I want this to be split it after this comma. So I can just write it here and it gives me a list which says hello and world, which has two elements, and it got splitted, and this variable, this string got stored in a list, and now it says hello and another word which is world. And now let's learn how you can concatenate a string. Concatenate means to join a string. So say if you have two variables, which is hello and well, hello world is getting boring. We'll use some new words now. So hello world, and if you want to join both of these string, just use a plus b. You can simply use a plus b, but make sure you have a space, because without a space it would just print hello world. Okay, let us see how it would print, and you'll realize why you need a space. See, here it printed hello world and there is no space in between. So in case you want a space, just add these quotation marks, and between that add a space, and here you go, it prints hello world. Okay. Ooh, right, exactly. Slicing. Okay, Tanzia shared it. Abid. Okay, hi Abid. Okay. Right, you guys are going great. Awesome. So, okay. Do you want a water break? Because I want, my throat is dried entirely. Okay, let's take a water break and then continue with it. So now ahead we'll see the collection data types, which is list, set, tuple, dictionary, and then we'll also look over loops, how we can loop, and then we have if else statements. We also have functions, and then we'll do program for a small, question. So, a lot of things on the table. Okay. Hmm. Okay. What were we talking about? We have string formatting. So, okay, you need to know this fact that in Python you cannot combine string and numbers like this. We combine the string in this way by using this plus operator, right? But in Python you cannot combine string and number. You can combine two strings but not number. So if you want to write, you have this age of a person, and then you want to print, my name is John, and I am. Then the string stops here, and then you want to add this number and print it along with the text. This would give throw you an error. What you can do is use this format method. What does format do? Format takes the past arguments, whatever you write inside this braces, and it formats them and places them in the string where these kind of placeholders are. So it might sound confusing right now. Let's implement this. So we have age, the same piece of, let's use this same piece of code. Okay, I'll uncomment it and edit it accordingly. By for uncommenting, use control slash, and for commenting as well, use control and slash. So here we have our example, and I'll just remove this from here, and I'll add my curly braces here, and for this I'll write x dot format age. So you see what happened. There is this format method. So in this text variable, I used format and wrote in the variable I wanted to format actually. So I wanted to print this number within my string. So I used format for my number, and then here wherever I wanted to print the value of age, I wrote these placeholder, these curly braces. So now what happens whenever I want to print this text, it formats the value of age. And where does it place the value of age? It places the value where these curly braces are. So if let's see how it works. So here it says my name is John and I'm 36. And if I wanted to print the my age here, I can use the curly braces here, and now it would say 36 because the formatted value of age gets printed here instead of here because I placed my curly braces here. So that's how you can use the format method in your program. So we all know about boolean operator, right? So it gives us two values that can be either true or false. You can see it here. So let's print if 10 is actually greater than 9. So computer knows it's greater than 9, and it prints us the boolean value true. So if you know what, if you're programmed earlier in either C, C++, Java, etc., you would find Python is very easy, very it's like just a cakewalk for you all. So let's use an if else statement to print on the basis of boolean value. So I'll assign the variables the value 10 and 9 to my variables, and if a is actually greater than b, then please print for me that a is greater than b. But if it isn't, else print a is not greater than b. Okay. So since A is A, which is 10, and B is 9, A is greater than B, it is true. This condition holds true, and thus the Boolean value turns out to be true, and thus it prints A is greater than B. Had it not been greater than b, let's interchange the values, then the other statement would have been executed. Because this trace statement turns out to be false according to boolean value, then this if statement will not be executed, else statement gets executed, and it prints a is not greater than b. Okay, so now we have covered our boolean operators as well. Not operator, boolean value, boolean data type. Now let's come to Python operators. So Python has around how many? Six type of operators, I guess. Six or seven. Break, please. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. I think you already have had a few minutes break. Do you want more? Oh, I think even I need a break now. Do we? Okay. So, okay, you can take a break and rewind the video. It's fine. So let's. I am actually, I have a constraint of time, so I cannot actually take a break even if I want to. So let's talk about operators. So we have arithmetic operators. So arithmetic operators are, usual addition, subtraction, that second class thing. So arithmetic operators are used with numerical values to perform the common mathematical operations. So here we have x is equal to 5 and then y is equal to 3 assigned to variables. These are the operators we have used. This is an addition operator, this is a subtraction operator, minus, then multiplication, then division operator. This might be something new for you all. So this is the modulus operator, which does nothing, but it is similar as division, but returns the remainder of um, division. So, for example, here what did we use? 5 and 3. For example, if you divide 5 by 3, so what do? You go 3 ones are 3, 5 minus 3, and then it comes out to be 2. Then how would you further proceed? You will take a decimal and then take a 0 and then divide, right? So here, this what does a modulus operator does is it does an integer division. It does not go proceed for a decimal thing, and then returns the remainder. What remainder were we getting in this 5 upon 3 division? We got 2 as the remainder. So here, if you observe, this 2 was returned as the remainder. While in division, you actually got the proper value, which is 1.6667, right? So here, look at this operator. These two multiplication signs says x to the power y. We all know the exponential terms, right? So this is something x to the power y, and this is an exponential term. And this x double slash y, this is a floor division. So what does it do? It divides actually. So here x is getting divided by y, but the quotient value, which was actually 1.6667, gets rounded off to the nearest integer, which was 1. So the division value 1.67 got rounded off, and here it is. By rounded off, I mean the integer, largest possible integer. It ignores the decimal values and returns the integer. This is what is called float division. So these were our arithmetic operators. Then we have our so-called assignment operator, and as per its name, you might have got an idea. It is used to assign values to a variable. So just have a look over this. This is very simple. So by even looking at this, you would be able to guess what it is actually. So if you use this operator, it is x is equal to 5, which is similar to assigning the value 5 to the variable x. Now if you use this operator plus with an equal to, it is x is equal to x plus 3, looking at this example. Okay, so this is as similar as writing x is equal to x plus 3. So whenever you want to increment a variable by 1, what you can do, you can just simply write x plus equal to 1. For example, we have we have set the value of x as 5. And now I want to increment the value. So I need not write x is equal to x plus 1. I can simply, this is a shortcut in, in layman terms. You can just simply write x plus is equal to 1, and then let's print x, and it should say 6. It says 6. So this is how you can use this operator. Similarly, then we have an operator for subtraction as well, multiplication, then division, and similarly all of these are same. This and operator will come later, and you will get a glimpse of it, what it actually is. Okay, this is a bitwise operator. So then we have Python comparison operators. So it is used to compare values, as you might would have been able to guess. So you all are here with me. Okay, right. So there's this operator double equal with a double equal to sign. Then we have the name equal. Then let's see this example. This states that whenever you want to check, when you want to check whether as x is equal to y or not, you can use this operator, right? So if I want to check, um, um, print 5 equal to 5. So if these two values are equal, this should return true, and it returns true. Now if I set it, check if 5 is equal to 8 actually, it says false, right? So this is how you can do it. And similarly, you can check whether x is not equal to y. If it's not equal to, you can execute a piece of code. Then we have greater than, then less than. These are just comparison operators. So if you can compare two values, and then execute some piece of statements if you want to, with respect to this condition. Then greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Very simple. You might have got these things very easily. Then you have logical operator. So logical operator, we have and, or not. If you have a basic idea of Boolean algebra, you might be able to understand it very easily. So and operator returns true if both the statements are true. So if x is less than 5 and x is less than 10, it will return a true. So if I say my x is 1, so x is less than 5 as well, and x is less than 10 as well. 1 is less than 5, 1 is less than 10. So this should return true for me. But if I say my x is 7, is 7 less than 5? No. So this statement would get false, and ultimately, although this statement is true, but the entire value of the statement gets a false. So it will return a false for me. It returns true only if both the statements are true, right? So similarly, it is for or. In or's case, even if one of the statements is true, it returns a value true to the user. So in not, it reverses the result. So if I'm getting the actual result as true, and if I use the not value, then I'll get false instead. That's easy. Then we have identity operator, which is or is not. It is very simple. It's kind of, if the way both the variables are same object, it will actually return true for it. So it is used to compare objects, not if they're equal, but if they're actually the same object with the same memory location, right? Then we talked about membership operator, in and not in. So if something is present in an object, so it will print true, otherwise false. And similarly, it is for not in. Then we have bitwise operator. It is very much like Boolean algebra. And if you are familiar with register, have you guys learned about register anytime? So register is something which stores value temporarily in a computer. All your computers, all your laptops you're using, they have a register. So there's this thing called shift register. So okay, I think let's not talk about this. So it might get complicated for you all, and it's a beginner's workshop. So this is a Boolean algebra thing. So let me just show you Boolean algebra tables. Look at this. Okay, no, not this thing. Boolean and operator truth table. So look at this. This is the AND gate, which is same as this one, and it sets each bit to 1 if both the bits are 1. So here if you see x and y, these are two bits. X can be either 0 or 1. Similarly, y can be either 0 or 1. So in total, if you observe, there can be four combinations. One can be that both x and y are 0. One can be that x is 0 and y is 1. And other can be that x is 1, y is 0. And the last is where both of them are 1s. So what AND operator does is AND operator returns the value 1 only when both the x and y are 1, right? And then for OR, if you see, OR operator returns the value 1 even when either one of them, either x or y is 1. So here you see y was 1, so it returned 1. X was 1, y was 0. But at least one of them is 1, so it returned 1. So here x and y both are 1, so it returns 0. But in case when both are 0, it returns a 0. So this is how a bitwise operator, which is useful for binary numbers, is used in Python. Okay, finally we have reached the collection built-in data types in Python, which is Python list. I guess we're running slow. Okay, um, and I want to cover the tuple and other things as well. Okay, I have an idea. Well, let's not, write the code. It takes time, and we just will not be able to cover some things which I think is important in the workshop because we do not have another part of this, and we want to maximize our learning in this workshop. So I have my notebook prepared already. Let's have a look over this instead. So now we know all about the operators. Any operator now you ask and we can answer, right? You can use these operator in your programs as well. So we have Python list. So a list is used to store multiple values in a single variable. They're just like dynamically sized arrays, if you all know of what array is. So dynamically sized array means the size of the array is not defined, and whenever you add another new item, the size gets increases. So in simple language, a list is collection of things enclosed in these square braces, and the list items, which are apple, banana, cherry, here are separated by commas. So items in the list can be ordered, changeable, and can have duplicate values. And by ordered, I mean the list has a defined order. So the first item here has the index 0. Value has the index 1. This has 2. So all the values have a particular index, and whenever a new list item is added, it will be placed at the end of the list with another index value, with an increased index value, um, or return true if one of the values is true. Yes, yes. Okay, okay, fine. You guys all know. So this is how you can create a list, print a list by just writing a variable name, then using an assignment operator and assigning values to it. So I have used the square braces and assigned some list items, just apple, banana, and cherry. And if you're using string, make sure you use these quotes. And now I've printed my list, and which says apple, banana, cherry. So you can determine your number of items in list by using the length function as we studied earlier. So I used length function and just wrote my variable name for the list, and it printed me that we have 3 items in our list. Then what is the data type of list? Simple. You can print the type of your variable by writing the variable name, and it says class list. So, from Python's perspective, lists are defined as objects with data type list here as you have seen. So you can also construct a list using this list constructor, or you can convert anything. For example, if you want to convert something into a list, you can use this constructor, which is this list constructor. And inside this, you write your variable name or some list item, right? Then what if you want to access list items? So as you all know that list items are indexed as we saw earlier. So you can access the list item using index number. So what if I say I want to access the list item cherry? What do I do? I'll just write the its index number and I'll print it. And okay, it's working. Let's wait. And this was how you can access a particular element. In case you want to access the range, you can just use two indexes where it starts and where it has to end. Why is it not? Okay, now it says cherry. So this was the second indexed item. So this got printed. Now if I say I want to access a range from which is 2 to 6. So it should go from 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as I told, 6 will not, the last index does not get included. Only the index is before it, starting from 2 and not included 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Cherry, orange, kiwi, and melon are printed here. So in case you want to change list item value, you can change it simply. So if I say I don't like the fruit banana, I can write pineapple here. I use its index value and replace the item value with the new value. So it's if I print my list again, now it says apple, pineapple, cherry, orange, kiwi, melon, and mango. So now if you want to insert a new item in the list, just use insert function, or you can use append as well. By using insert method, you would have to mention the index also. So if I want to insert back the value banana, I can write its index value where I want to insert it. The so two second index would come over here after pineapple. So banana gets printed after pineapple. But if I want to just append the value, append a new list item value, it will just get added after the nth item, after the last item. So the last item here was mango, and banana thus gets added after mango here. So I might be running a little fast because I want to cover that loop thing, functions as well. This is a little boring. If you come, in the functions part and looping, that's something which interests. At least used to interest me. I don't know about you all. So you can also remove the list items. For example, if you want to remove banana, you can simply remove it, and then the list says apple and cherry. Just use the remove method. You can also use the pop method, but in pop, you will have to mention the index number from which you want to remove, right? So you can also loop through the list to print all the items of the list separately to iterate over the items. So I started with a for loop, and if x is a variable, if x is present in this list, then print x. So anything which would be present in this list would get printed automatically. Okay, finally we have covered the list. It's nothing very difficult, and if you still find some complications in this, go and practice a few questions, and you'll realize that it's very simple, and at least simpler than other languages. So then you have tuple. Tuple is again used to store multiple items, and but here the difference is that the collection is ordered and unchangeable, unlike a list which was changeable. You could change the value of a list. So another difference is that the tuples are written with round brackets, and as like in list, it also allows duplicate values. So you can also add another apple here. It would be no problem, and it would print apple, banana, cherry, apple, right? But and here you can print the data type as well. It would say class tuple. You can use a tuple constructor to create a new tuple or convert something into a tuple, and then you can access the tuple element. Since a tuple is also indexed like list, you can use the index value to access tuple elements. Then how do you update a tuple? Now in case you want to update a tuple, you want to change a tuple, how would you do it? As I mentioned, tuple is unchangeable. Is there some idea you want to suggest how you can do it? Hmm. Okay, just change into list. Exactly, Tanzia. You can simply convert this tuple into a list by using the list constructor. So here I've created a new list, and I've converted this tuple into a list. And now if I wanted to add my another favorite fruit, I just appended orange. Now if I print it, you'll see. Okay, let's print this tuple. The tuple got updated ultimately, right? So what did I do? I converted this tuple into a list. I appended whatever I wanted to append in my list. I again converted back my list into the tuple. So now this tuple got updated and it has another fruit into it. It's very simple. Then we have set. So set is again a collection of multiple items, but it is unordered. So you do not have any index value in sets, and then it is unchangeable and unindexed. Okay, it's unchangeable, but you can remove items and add new items as well in sets, but you cannot replace. So so okay. Here, if you see, I've created a set, my set, and it uses curly braces. It has some not list items. It has some set items into it. And now, if you print the set, do you notice that gets printed in a random value? So since sets are unordered, you cannot be sure in which order the items will appear or get printed. So that is how you do it. And if you want to, uh, add multiple values, similar values, add duplicate values, it will not accept it. It will just ignore the duplicate value and just print only one value or one of the values, right? So let's see more things. You cannot access set elements using index. As I said, set elements are unordered, so they do not have an index. But so you cannot access them using the index values. But what you can do is you can loop. So you can use a for loop in case you want to, access all the elements or print all the elements. So this again gets printed in a random order. Then we have how to add set items. So although set is an unchangeable data type, but you can add and remove items from it. So just simply use this add method, and the set gets updated. And in case you want to remove or discard anything, use remove method and write the value of the item. And here, if you see, orange gets removed. And but a significant difference between discard and remove is that remove method raises an error if the item you want to remove is not present in the set, while discard method shall not raise any error. For example, if we say remove Remove mango. You observe mango is not even present in the set. Let's see what happens. It throws an error to me. Now, if I been using discard here, it would have not thrown an error. So cherry, banana, orange, apple, and it throws. Okay, did I? Um, yeah. So cherry, banana, orange, apple. It throws no error to me. So there's this little difference between remove and discard method. Okay, now we are on the dictionaries. So, dictionary again is used to store data values. It's multiple values, but there is a difference. It stores data values in key value pair. So here, if you see, this is a key and this is its value. This is another key. This is its value. Another key and its value. So, this is the way you create a dictionary. You use the curly brackets and have keys and values. So, a dictionary is ordered, changeable, and does not allow duplicates. So, you can change it as well here. So this is print. You have printed the dictionary you created, and you observe all the key and its value have been printed. So we have a brand called Ford, and then we have a model called Mustang, and the year it was established in. So now, how do you access the elements of dictionary? Very similar as we saw in other collection data types. We used to use the index value, but here we'll use the key value. So if I here I've used model to print the it print its value, which is Mustang. In case I wanted to print brand value, I can use the key brand, and it prints the brand value, which is Ford. Now, as I said, dictionary is changeable, so you can change the value of the key. So, if you wanna argue with me that Mustang was not established in 1964, not released in 1964, it was in 2018. Okay, I'll say okay, I'll change the value for you. So I write this the value of the name of my dictionary, and then write square braces, and inside that I just write my key instead of index as we used to do it for list or set. I write not set, tuple. So I wrote my key and then edited its value. Now if I print it, print this dictionary, you see the year got updated, year 2018. So you can also add a new key value pair, which is, for example, I want my car to be red in color, so I will just add color to our car. So this dictionary color is equal to red, and you just update it and print it, and you see a color red has been added to your dictionary. Very simple. Dictionaries, um just change in list. Typecasting, where did we use typecasting? I missed you. I don't remember what this comment links to. Okay, was it for the tuple thing? Okay, never mind. We are short of time and we have some things to cover. Then let's talk about if else statement. So I guess you might be knowing a little bit about if else statements. um, so if else statements use logical conditions. You understand logical conditions, right? We studied about logical operators. So logical conditions can be used to execute a piece of code through an if else statement. For example, if I say if my bottle is empty, fill the bottle. So if the bottle is empty, the bottle gets filled. If the bottle is not empty, it does not get filled. So if the bottle is empty is a condition, it's a logical condition, and fill the bottle is a piece of code which gets executed whenever the condition is true. When it's false, another piece of code gets executed, right? So let's see how you can actually implement it. I have assigned the value 33 to a variable A and then 200 to a variable B. We have seen this already, that if B is greater than A or if A is greater than B, we print some statement or some piece of code. So always do note that there is an indentation. Python relies on indentation, which is this white space. So at the beginning of this line, this is to define the scope in the code. And if you do not give this indentation, so see what happens. It just gives me, throws an error to me, expected an indented block. So here, if you just give an indentation, it will print this piece of code whenever this your logical condition is true. So let's jump on to the loops quickly. I'll just give you a little bit of glimpse so that you can actually program when you do it. So, okay, if you might not be knowing what loop is, a loop is used to execute a block of statements repeatedly. So, once a loop gets started, it will execute some piece of code again and again until and unless some condition gets satisfied, and it will then just stop the loop or get out of the loop. So, we have two kinds of loop here: while loop and for loop. So, you're all here. Okay. We have two loops: while loop, for loop. So in while loop, what do? While loop says that it will execute a set of code as long as the logical condition provided in the code um, is true. So here, if you see, I have a logical condition: I is less than 10 here. Until and unless this condition is true, my program would run or execute this piece of code. So let us print natural numbers as long as I is less than 10. So this means that I want to print the natural number from 1 to 9. So natural number starts from 1, right? Whole numbers start from 0. So I have initiated this, variable which starts from 1, and I have used the variable name I, which is an iterator for me. So while I is less than 10, I is less than 10, my logical condition. So while I is less than 10, then we use this colon and print, observe this indentation, please. And then we print I. And after we have printed a value, we want this value to get incremented. And then again, this value, our iterator gets incremented. For example, let's start from here: I is equal to 1. We check the statement: while I is less than 10, I is less than, is 1 less than 10? Yes, it is less than 10. So we go to this piece of block, this complete piece of block, and we see that what is it written? It's written print I. So let's print 1. We printed 1. Then we execute this piece of code. We saw that it says I is equal to I plus 1. So it says that we have to add plus 1 and update I. So we do I plus 1, which is 1 plus 1, 2. So I is equal to 2 here, right? So now I is equal to 2. We again come back here to the while condition and see whether I is less than 10. Yes, 2 is less than 10. We again print this. You see it got printed here. Then we again come back to this condition. We increment the value. Then we see that I becomes, I was 2 here. Then we do 2 plus 1 and I becomes 3 here. And in a similar fashion, it goes until 9. And when this I value becomes 9, the 9 got printed here. So what happens? It again comes to the while loop and asks to check for the condition. Now it checks that, wait, 9 got printed here, the value 9 got printed here, and it became 10 here when it got incremented. So when it comes to the while loop here, we observe that 10 is 10 less than 10? No, 10 is not less than 10. So the condition here becomes false, and that is where this while loop ends. So this is how we printed the number from 1 to 9. Okay. So I hope you're getting it. Then we have break statement and continue statement. So break statement is used to get out of the loop while the condition is still valid. So if you observe, if I say I want to just print, I want to get out of the loop or just print till 3, although my statement, although my condition is print the statement till I is less than 6. But what do? I'm printing the values. I check if I is equal to 3, break from the loop, come out of the loop. Okay, so here I is equal to 1 is less than 6. Okay, true will get inside the while loop. We print 1, we check if I 1 is equal to 3. No, 1 is not equal to 3, so break statement does not get executed. We update the value of 1, we increment it, it becomes 2. We come here again, we check 2 is less than 6, yes, and then we print 2, we check if 2 is equal to 3, it is not, we do not execute this if statement. Then we increment it, it becomes 3. 3 is less than 6, yes. We come inside the while loop, we print the value of 3. We check, is 3 is equal to 3? Yes, of course. We come inside the if statement and see that it's written break. So that means we come out of the loop. So this entire loop, we come out of this entire block and we come here where there is no code. So that is where it ends. This is how we came out of the loop, and this is how we just were able to print 3 conditions. And you observe, this I is less than 6 is still valid, right? But we came out of the loop. Then I want to talk about continue statement, which says that you can stop the current iteration and continue with the next. I want to say that I want to print 1 to 6 values, but I do not want to consider 3. So what do I do? Whenever 3 comes here, I'll just say continue. Do not even consider this iteration. Do not consider the value 3 and go on to the next iteration. That is how you use continue. So then we have for loop. For loop is just used for traversing over a list, set, or tuple, as we saw earlier, right? So it works more like an iterator method, unlike as we see in other programming languages. So here you see we have used Python for loop example for a list. So I have a list called fruits where we have list items apple, banana, cherry, etc. Now I want to print each of the list items. So I use for loop to iterate over the list. For x is anything which is present in fruits. If that x is present in fruits, which means if it's true, then please print x. So it prints apple, it prints banana, it prints cherry. Okay. So we saw this earlier, right? We saw the range function, that it does not include the index, whatever we write in this, and it, although the default value is 0, it starts from 0 and then it ends before the index value you provided. So next we have function. So okay, let's talk about function. Function consists of a block of code, which will only run when you call it. So okay, let's create a function here. How do you create a function? You define a function by using def. Def is a keyword in Python. You use it, then you name your function. I have named my function here as my function, and then you use these braces. You observe wherever we use some function, like even print function, it had these braces, and inside that those braces you used to give some arguments, right? Here I wrote this hello world, or 5 or 6 or 8, anything. These were my parameters and uh, or arguments. So there's a difference between arguments and parameters, or you cannot use it interchangeably. Note that. And now what do? You are saying this function to print every time this function is called this thing. Hey everyone, my function says hello. So whenever you call this function, it would print this. So you could have written something else as well in this code. For example, I say x, increment value of x and print it. Print. Also observe in C or C++, we used to write this semicolon after after every after end of every statement. But in Python, it's nothing as such. So now, if you call the function, I say I'm calling my function, and I um let's give the value of x here as 1. Okay, so I have created a function. It is printing me, it is saying me hello, and what it does, it has a value x, and it just updates that value, increments that value. Now I can call this function in anywhere in my entire program, and as soon as it's called, it will run this piece of code inside the function. It prints me hello, and then increments the value I have provided it. You can also you write these values inside. You can also write values inside these braces, which is called an argument. For example, I want this function to say hello to whoever you know whoever uses this computer. So he or she can write his or her name here, and then the function would say hello to him or her. So I've created this function already. Now I'm asking you to write your name. So to make a user input, to take a user input, you can use this input function. Write input and write the statement here. And then you call your function. I had created the function, my function, and inside that I wrote the value your name. So here, the your name value, which is Khushi would get taken as a parameter, and when you come back to your function, so my function takes the name value as Khushi, and inside the print it says hey, and then it knows the name value is Khushi, so it would say hey Khushi. This is how it will print me hey Khushi. And let's see, enter, it says enter your name. Okay, my name is Khushi. Okay, I didn't run this, I guess. Now let's do it. It says enter your name, Khushi. Huh. Now it says hey Khushi. This is how it worked. It took my name's value and mapped it to the function, and it realized that name's value has been assigned as your name variable, whose value is Khushi, as the user input it. So that is how it printed me hey Khushi. So I hope you guys are getting a glimpse of the function. And let's now just do a small programming question before we sign off this Python workshop. So let's write a Python function that takes a list and returns a new list, giving us the unique elements from the first list. For example, for example, okay, let me think of a list. Hmm. So I'll take the list I am using in this question. So, for example, if I have a given list as one, two, three, three, okay, this list has duplicate values. Okay, one more three, make it more interesting. Four, five. This is list, my list one. Then I say you have this list, you have to return a new list from this. So a new list which consists of only the unique items from list one. So my list two, which is my new list, should only consist of the unique items which are one, two, three, four, and five. No duplicate values, right? So how can you do it? Any idea, guys? No duplicate values in this list. Do you think we have some ways in which we can do it? It's not very difficult if you think of. Okay, below I have the answer. So, in and remove function. In, oh, exactly. You can do it, but how would you identify the duplicate elements? Okay, that's right. You can do it. So, who was it? R. or convert it into a set. You can convert it into a set, since set does not have duplicate values, so that's acceptable, right? R lad cat. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you were right. So there's this how I implemented it. So I created an empty list. So this is the function we have used. So we defined the function, we named the function, and this function takes an argument called L, which is a list. So X is an empty list. So I say if if a list item A is present in L, and if the list item is not present in X, which is an empty list, append the list item. For example, let us execute it for list one. So this is our list one. Okay, let me make it easier for you to understand. That's why I'm renaming the variable here. Okay, so if the list item A is present in list one, so one is present in list one, and if A is not in X, A is not present in this empty list. Is 1 present in this empty list? No, 1 is not present in this empty list. So what do? We append the list item into that empty list. We append 1. So what happens to X? X becomes 1. It has a list item now, one list item. And then again, we go to the for loop. This for loop will end only when this in membership operator gets false. So for a I mean only when the list gets ended, right? When it gets exhausted. So for A in list one, for two we get it got updated. So for two in list one, two is present in list one. Is two present in X? No, it's not present. We know X only has one list item right now, so it gets appended. Then similarly, we get three appended. Then we have another list item, the second three. Then we see, is it present in X? X is this right now. 3 is already present in X. So this statement gets false and it will not execute. So since is already present in X, this statement will not get executed and will move on to the next list item. 3 is again present in X. So this statement will not get executed again, and until unless we reach 4, these statements will get ignored. So when we reach 4, we see that 4 is not present in X. So we add it here. So we had it here, and when it's 5, you add it again here, and then you just return the new list you created, which is X. So the set thing, wow, even if it's not present, we can append new one, but I don't want to create one more. Remove its duplicate. Right. But I was just wondering, if you would use set, right? If you would convert it into set, you would get an unordered list item, right? You will not get the exact list. It would be get shuffled. So I want this list to be printed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only, not in some other order. So if you would convert it into set, I don't think it would be a more it would be a feasible. So that's it. This is how you can, now program small questions and then later move on to web programming or software programming as well. So I hope you all enjoyed this session and it was something meaningful to you all. So, did you guys enjoy it? I hope it was something helpful. Even if you already were familiar to Python, I hope your concepts got revised and something. Also, our lad cat likes it. Thank you. And thank you for being a lovely audience too. I enjoyed conversing with you all and looking at your ideas or opinions. So, thank you guys. Can you share your collab so we can go through sections slowly? Okay, I'll see. How can I share it? Hmm. Um, Is there some option? Okay, but I will have to make it public, right? Okay, let me see if I can, give you the option to access it. Copy link. Done. Sure, I can in the write up. I have a quick question. Could you send out some resources to learn Python quickly? This is a really hardcore session. I was keeping. Oh my God, user Sandra. Okay, it was 12 a.m. Oh, okay, it's okay. User Sandra, you can go on to any website such as Geeks for Geeks if you wish to learn Python. Because I do not like learning Python from some recorded videos actually. So I used to learn it by reading some books or through some resources, and I would suggest you all to do that in the same way, because by reading you actually get to study yourself and uh, get to know more things than you would learn from some pre-recorded video, right? And you can also clear your doubts yourself then by reading books or some resources. So Geeks for Geeks or W3 Schools is a good way from where you can study Python. And I use W3 Schools also to pick up some resources stuff for my session today. So that is something you can go with, right? So that's it, guys. That was for today's session. And thank you. And that's where I'll sign off for right now. Thank you. Bye bye.